Thanks so much for being with me today. So you've heard me jest before about bandwagons, but it does seem something maybe about people wanting, needing to come together. People love to come together for a team, a sport, celebrations. It seems kind of like we like to be a collective, or we like togetherness. And I wonder, is there a reason people are feeling that pull in particular right now? We've, of course, got the FIFA World Cup. That brings many people together, even those that wouldn't typically consider themselves a soccer or football fan. Psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens is with me now. Good morning.
Good morning, Susan.
Thanks for your time today. So what do you notice emotionally when people gather for something like the World Cup or a New Year's, even if it is in a stadium or even a local community event?
I think it really speaks to the fact that just how social humans are. And I know we all have varying degrees of that. Some people seek more of it than others, but not only when you have a gathering, say the World Cup, it's not just a gathering of people for the event, but it's a shared emotion that comes with it. So whether it's people chanting songs in the stadium or doing particular moves, I think after the World Cup, we all want to be a little bit Norwegian, don't we? Participate in that Norwegian Viking road. No, that's a great example of togetherness and just the joy that can come when we're in those collective events together.
Is there a sort of psychological name for this buzz of togetherness that we feel in those big crowd moments?
There is, and it's actually a term that's been around since, I think it was around 1912. It's a term I just love. Sociologists talk about a collective effervescence, which is, if ever a word was going to really well describe what it's talking about. And it's really about that electric feeling that we get when a group of people really come together and synchronise in terms of what they're doing and how they're feeling. So when the term first came around, it was actually to talk about religious gatherings. We talk about that more broadly now in all of the events that we might find ourselves in.
Yeah, I love that. Collective effervescence. That word needs to be used, that phrase needs to be used a whole lot more.
It does.
Does this kind of unity actually benefit us, or is it just a bit of fun and maybe even a bit of an escape?
It can be the fun and it can be the escape, but we actually know that the benefits of participating in these kind of activities go beyond the activity itself. So when we share those emotional highs with others, it brings us together closer in terms of our social bonds. It's good for our well-being. And I guess what it does is it reminds us that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. So when we look at some of the things that we have in modern society, like loneliness, it really can in those times reduce that and motivate many more positive actions. So it's a great thing to be part of.
Hearing from psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens with me today. And we're talking about the idea of people feeling a real pull to be together right now, whether that be through things like the FIFA World Cup or State of Origin and those sorts of things. Where's the line between healthy unity and unhealthy tribalism or even hostility when we come to talk about sport?
Yeah, sadly that is one of the challenges of gatherings of people, isn't it? So there's so much good that can come from it, but we certainly know that in acts of when there's verbal or physical abuse or exclusion or violence, when we see some of those things in sporting settings, we'd talk about that sporting hooliganism, which is just that really unsavoury behaviour that we see. So, of course, that can be part of it as well. So it's not to say that there's only an upside or only a good side of bringing people together, but hopefully we see far more of the good than we do with the problematic behaviour.
Why might people be craving some of these intense shared experiences like the collective effervescence at the moment? Why do you think that right now there's a real pull for that?
Yeah, I do think we're seeking it, and I did the numbers on my fingers before we were chatting, and 6 years ago we were in the thick of the pandemic and the disruption that came with that. And I guess we live in a world, and it's always the case, it comes in different forms where we might see in our lives polarisation in different ways. There's so much online life and people are talking about feeling fatigued and isolated and so forth. So these big events, when they come along, and whether it be a big concert or it be a sporting event or something happening, like you said, in the community, it offers those opportunities for us to feel safe, for us to enjoy the experience and to connect socially with other people.
We've been talking a lot about the World Cup and the fact that a lot of people are getting involved and watching on and even buying the jersey. How can we bring some of the best parts of the World Cup and that unity that people are feeling and that togetherness that people are feeling into everyday normal life?
Yeah, I think that when we understand that, when we create a space for people to come together, to feel welcome, to feel like they're part of the story, and I think that's a big part of what these events actually do. It gives us so much benefit. And the nice thing is that you don't have to go across the world to a World Cup to experience these things, that within your community, and you might be in Western Queensland or Northern Queensland or different areas have these events, and whether that be through our sport, our music, faith, volunteering, whatever that might be, we can look for small, regular experiences of that connection with other people.
What about if somebody who is feeling perhaps a little bit disconnected or even lonely? What's one gentle step that they could take this week?
Yeah, so it may not mean that you have to go to a stadium to do it. It might be that there might be a local event, or maybe you could go and do something with one other person, or you and I have talked before about the benefits of even going to shared social spaces. So it could be something like a museum or an aquarium or something like that, where there are other people.
Easy, yeah.
The markets, yeah, great. Strawberries are fantastic at the moment. So yeah, maybe you can find a market with something delicious to eat. But something small, I think, is a key thing to do there. Starting tiny and then building from there.
Yeah, baby steps. Psychology consultant and author Dr. Jo Lukens. I hope you have an effervescent day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. You are on ABC across Queensland. Susan with you this morning.